Over the past century, most areas that define themselves as being of Western culture have experienced a rise in secularism, and at the same time a proportionate increase in the prevalence of anti-religious, often social deconstructionist philosophies. These are an assortment of ideas that generally question the traditional values and beliefs about order and identity, and especially challenge those who believe that truth is an absolute. It undermines the teaching that there are some basic absolutes that are universally right and wrong. A century ago, most would have been born into a relatively stable social order, regardless of the culture or land of their birth. Concepts of what was right and what was wrong in that culture were driven by traditional religious and cultural perspectives that had been in place and largely unchanged for many generations. In the 19th century, numerous movements arose in Europe that began to seek to undermine social order. These were in some cases inspired by Rousseau's 18th century attempts to overthrow elements of Western culture, but eventually they were given popularity by the promotion of new theories asserted by men like Darwin, advancing the notion that the universe and the earth, man, and all life were merely a cosmic accident, that life and consciousness were not part of a grand design and thus not guided or governed by a designer. If such a position were true, then it would follow that religion was simply a construct of primitive man who had been trying to explain the existence of a world around him, and thus any laws or rules associated with religion would simply be part of a human system devised for the purpose of maintaining order. This line of reasoning leads to questions. What is morality? What is right or wrong? Who decides? Earlier in my career, I served as a principal of a consolidated rural school housing an elementary, a junior, and a senior high school in separate wings. One of the many lessons I learned in those early years was that if one wanted to produce a classroom or a school with reduced social anxiety, one needed consistency and predictability. When teachers were always well prepared, assignments marked in a consistent manner, and correction or discipline were predictable, and I would add fair, the school would take on a pleasant, productive, and well-behaved tone. There was a definition of right and wrong, and they knew that the teachers and the principal were in agreement on these absolutes. If the rules are compromised, uncertainty and inconsistency reign, leading to challenges of right and wrong and behavioral deviations to the detriment of all. Stress and mental health issues increase. Deconstructionism, which in school systems today manifest in philosophies like critical theory, progressivism, child-centered learning, and a host of other labels, has been used to undo the role and formal organization of education that at one time provided a stable structure and order in a child's life. Today, the radicals who have taken over many of society's institutions challenge the very notion of absolutes and acceptance of traditional right and wrong. This threatens the stability of the child's life, and in an environment where there is a crumbling of the knowledge base and reduced student ability in basic learning, a decline in student confidence is inevitable. It opens the door to aimlessness and depression, especially among males. All this has undermined the notion that there is a spiritual dimension to life and leaves many people with a sense of hopelessness, seeing no meaning to life, no transcendent purpose for being alive. Much to the chagrin of the modern social activist warrior, credible researchers clearly show the benefits of the spiritual dimension in creating hope, enhancing productivity, and in successfully battling depression. There is an old expression, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. It doesn't really matter what the pudding looks like, but how good it tastes determines the quality. Carefully carried out scientific studies strongly indicate that a religious belief leading to a code of personal behavior is a powerful tool in the fight against depression. On January 15, 2019, a team of researchers at Columbia University released a study that involved family members over a 3-generation period. These were people from families deemed at high risk for depression. The findings revealed that persons in the study sample who placed a high value on religious belief had better brain development in zones where underdevelopment contributes to depression. The study goes on to suggest that religious beliefs affect brain microstructure in ways that can confer resilience against depression even among high-risk individuals. Many other studies claim similar results. A much larger research was published in 2012 entitled Religious and Spiritual Factors in Depression, Review and Integration of the Research, by a team of doctors representing leading universities. Among other findings, this study points out that depression is increasing in younger age groups. Among persons aged 15 to 44 in the USA, major depression is now the leading cause of disability days. It is interesting that this is the very age group where one finds the largest decline in involvement in religious activity and worship. The 2012 report cited above clearly linked religious belief to lower rates of depression. All analyses were controlled for age, gender, denomination, history of depression, and history of parental depression. In the overall sample, increased religious attendance predicted a 49% lower likelihood of mood disorder and a 53% lower likelihood of any psychiatric disorder. The report went on to say, most important, however, was the interaction found with NLEs, negative life events. For high-risk participants, those with depressed parents, with high exposure to NLEs, religious attendance reduced the likelihood of major depression on follow-up by 76%, and any mood disorder by 69%, and any psychiatric disorder by 64%. The same paper, in referencing other studies, relates how religious belief fosters a faster recovery among patients hospitalized for depression. They also make this most revealing comment. Daily decisions that involve choices on how to treat others, generosity, altruism, gratefulness, and forgiveness, lifestyle practices, marital fidelity, delinquency or crime, and school performance, and health behaviors, use of alcohol, use of drugs, and disease prevention activities, may influence the psychosocial or physical stressors that a person has to deal with. Since religious spiritual involvement has been associated with greater altruism, gratefulness, forgiveness, marital satisfaction, less delinquency, crime, better school performance, less substance abuse, and more disease prevention activities, it would make sense that this should result in fewer life stressors. The case for religious belief in helping to suppress depressive episodes is very well documented in clinical research. It is interesting that in this clinical review of research by doctors and researchers from Harvard, Duke, and other leading universities around the world, certain positive behaviors are found to significantly reduce the probability of depression, or help one recover more quickly from such an episode. Is it just coincidence that one guidebook recorded exactly the same conclusion thousands of years ago? As the practice of biochemistry and 21st century biology moves into the intricacies of life at the cellular and subcellular level, the old notions of unguided Darwinian evolutionary development are increasingly seen as out of date and out of touch with the reality of new information. In particular are the discoveries of fantastically well-built nanomachines that operate by the billions in one's body, ensuring proteins are correctly designed and sent around the whole organism, and that the proper neurotransmitters are manufactured and used as needed to keep the complex operations of the brain functioning. Dr. Stephen Meyer's book, Signature in the Cell, offers irrefutable evidence that life is a product of a designer of unimaginable brilliance and capacity. This designer is the author of mankind and the author of a text put together at his direction over a period of 4,000 years, preserved intact for us today. Although this video series provides only the most basic overview of the issue of depression, many of the suggestions of the scientific studies looked at were in fact stated long ago in the pages of the Bible. The content of that text provides a reason or purpose for mankind's existence. The same book provides rules, laws, guidelines of behavior which were written and preserved to create an environment of peace and security and to develop peace of mind. Mankind, however, has largely rejected these principles which included ways to establish and maintain a healthy mental outlook and a positively balanced mood.
If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And for more content like this, please visit our website at tomorrowsworldviewpoint.org.